I am so excited right now. This is my second podcast, and I started this to try and help inspire and maybe guide people to that call to adventure kind of thing. And it was wild because my own mom called me today, and because she had started sending me stuff on social media and little clips, and she's like, "This is what a hero is. This is what a hero is." And I had to turn to my mom on the phone, and I said, "Mom, you're a hero. Every person is a hero." And I said, "Mom, you had me at 16 years old. Dad had me at 16 years old. You're my hero. I'm here because you guys chose to step into that new world, that place that was terrifying as a teenager. I know I couldn't have done it, but they did, and I'm here because of it." And she went silent on the phone, and I said, "Mom, honestly, thank you. And it's everything that you've done after those things. We're all unique. We all have our own gifts, and that's what this podcast is about. We're hoping to, with each and every guest here at Sticky Paw Studios, which I'm really lucky to be a part of, and call this my new place of adventure, a place to help inspire." So, and with that said, I have a guest today. My name is Bryan Hopkins, and you are on a Hero's Journey podcast right now. That's what you're listening to. That's what you're watching. And this guy has inspired me. The moment I met him, we clicked. We clicked so much that I was like, "Yeah, man, why don't you move in? Grab your stuff right now." No joke. It was that quickly. And then I realized, I got to ask my girl. You
always say that, but the truth is, I said, "Shouldn't you ask your girl?"
And yes,
that's exactly what
true,
I should
you
be
did.
doing.
But the guy, the voice you're hearing right now, Bryant Boon, I call him Boon, and I just found out minutes before that I'm one of two people that actually called you Boon in your life.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I started this, we were sitting in the kitchen talking about, just all this, talking about doing a podcast and stuff. But when we were talking about, I know what I want it to be. And I said the name, and it was like a light bulb went off in your head. Yeah. And when I actually pulled the trigger, which was just days ago, this is like the end of the week, and this is the second podcast, and I've got a bunch lined up already. And you sent me a bunch of things in emails and stuff about what a hero's journey is, and you live that life. You're always resonating those things with me.
We always are living that life, like you're talking about your mom, But this exactly is one of the main aspects of the hero's journey, which is what everybody is doing. Is the moment you're born, you're on this hero's journey. But there's this call to adventure, and you saying yes to this podcast, and literally 2-3 days ago when the opportunity
I got tapped on the shoulder by John Orlando from Action Junkies, and this is his place.
Yeah, and it's a huge thing. It's a major part of that, the myth. Joseph Campbell's the guy who came up with that originally. Yeah. And Joseph Campbell, although he's dead now, and there's a lot of great stuff out there on the internet, but he wrote a book called Hero of a Thousand Faces. And it basically describes, looking over history, the myth is the same throughout cultures, across times, across distances, geography, when they're completely disconnected. And they're trying to understand, what is this thing that keeps popping up again and again? So he turned with the hero's journey. And it starts with this place where there's this ordinary world that we're all born into, and it's the conditioned idea of what you're supposed to do. Right. And inside of us, we all have this. We have a spark. You know what it is when you're 6, 7, 8 years old. You want to go be a baseball player or a rock star.
For me, I was playing piano, playing guitar. Yeah. And then one day I picked up a baseball and a football, and I put those things down. Yeah. And it's crazy how my world came back around, and here I am. Yeah. I'm a musician and singer, songwriter. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, when people feel this call of adventure, there's a lot of times there's this first thing that happens called they refuse the call. And we all do that. We all refuse this call, and that we come up against some sort of resistance. Maybe it's society saying, well, that's not a really safe job, or you might want to get a real job, or whatever it is. But we're constantly forced with this opportunity, and it presents itself again and again. And if you answer the call, it gets even more uncomfortable. Right. Then you start diving deeper into it. So this podcast is an example of you continuing to answer that call.
I appreciate that. And when I did it, I remember you saying that, and it resonated with me as well. But what was it? Because the one thing that people out there that are listening, watching right now don't know about you is you were in the Navy and you were a pilot.
Right.
That's like a very small percentage of the population that actually does it. Like Top Gun 2 is coming out this weekend.
Can't wait.
It's coming weekend. And you, I remember so many people actually joined up to try and be pilots when that first one came out. Yeah. So with you, what was it?
Well, for me, it's strange because I always wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to go explore in space. For some reason, growing up as a little kid, and I started doing research, but I also loved planes. And I found out that at that point in time, all the astronauts were either Navy or Air Force pilots. The pilot astronauts. So I was like, oh, well, that's a no-brainer because I want to. And I found out they went to college and they got a degree, and then so I just wanted to go be a pilot and go be an astronaut as quickly as I could. And so I found out what the steps were, and I kind of reverse engineered, like, okay, if I'm going to go be an astronaut, then I need to go be a military pilot, and what's the rules for that? Oh, you have to have a degree, you got to go to college. And so it was funny because I knew this when I was quite young, like early, definitely like in the beginning of high school, and all the friends of mine that they all knew that what I was going to go do.
Right.
They were all kind of protecting my dream in the sense that because I was always afraid if I was going to smoke weed or something like that, I would have to ask that question.
I was that guy protecting friends, just so you know. I was that guy doing that for other friends. I have a friend that comes to mind right now. Yeah.
It was hilarious because we'd be at parties and somebody would offer me a joint or something like that. And it's not that I didn't want to try it or something like that, but I was worried about having to pass a lie detector, having to lie kind of thing. And then the guys who were smoking weed, they're like, oh no, he doesn't. He's going to go be a military.
That's
pilot.
amazing.
Yeah, so so people, I think they have this energy when we feel somebody connected to something passionate inside of them. We don't realize it, but what we're seeing is the reflection of ourselves in the other person. We think, oh my God, that's so amazing.
Right.
But we start supporting the energy that already lives inside of ourselves.
My family does that. My friends do that. My little sister called me this morning about this podcast. She's so excited that I'm doing this. So yes. I get it, so, but what was it, when did you answer the call? When did you say, I'm actually doing this now?
I grew up on a kind of an animal farm, in Missouri. And I just remember being in the middle of the Midwest and just thinking, I don't want to be here. I want to go see the world. I want to go do things. I want to go explore space. I want to be in outer space as opposed to in the middle. And so I
were Luke Skywalker.
Without the spaceship yet.
Yeah.
And without the Obi-Wan Kenobi, the mentor. That's it. Which the mentor is a huge part of this whole hero's journey. We find mentors in different ways. We find it in books. A lot of times we find our mentors in books and stories. But sometimes we find them in a direct person. But
I'm hoping that somebody listening to this is indirectly being mentored or being guided by hearing you say this. Because after this weekend, there are going to be people, whoa, look at that. There's going to be a new generation watching Top Gun 2 and the young people flying those planes, you know, and so.
Yeah, anyway. The information's out there. That's a wonderful thing. 200 years, 100 years ago, access to information was more limited, but now we have the internet. We have a podcast like this. We have, and if we have some sort of a spark, the most important thing I think is to start exploring that spark. Or even if you don't know what your spark is, if you have to because we all know it, but we have to remind ourselves sometimes, is to just get as much exposure to what's out there and start finding stories and information that resonates with you.
So you're back in Missouri, and you're this is the direction that you're taking.
Yeah.
We didn't have the internet. We didn't have those things back then.
So what was it?
Yeah. So you went to the library.
I went to the library and I found out I had to go to college, and I didn't have, my parents didn't have any money. And so I found out you could get a scholarship if you do good enough. So my motivation to get good grades, and I got a military scholarship, ROTC scholarship. And that was what allowed me to go. The Air Force didn't take me, but the Navy said, well, we'll give you a chance. They gave me a 3-year scholarship. They said, if you do well your first year, then we'll pay for the last 3. And I found a school in Florida, Jacksonville University, that had a program where if you had a 3-year scholarship, they would give you a fourth, the first year basically.
Oh, wow.
And they had a flight program. At that time, I thought I was going to go. The Navy ended up not paying for my flight fees in college because we're going to teach how to fly. We're not going to pay for it when you're in school. But anyway, I ended up going on a scholarship, RTC scholarship.
Oh, wow.
And but that's what really started, because on this call to adventure, there's this threshold between the ordinary world and the special world, they call it. And in the special world, there's a moment in time where the hero does something that takes him out of the ordinary world. So for me, it was a 3-day bus ride on a Greyhound bus from Missouri down to Florida. And I had 4 U-Haul boxes in this thing of my entire life. And I remember getting to this Holiday Inn down there in Florida and just kind of sitting there and like, okay, I'm here. And that began. And at that point, I found other people that were excited about becoming a pilot. First time I found like my tribe, from the flying aspect. And it's been that way throughout the different things that I've ended up doing over time. You find the people that are resonating with that same excitement, and it catalyzes the momentum forward. So went to college there, started flying, went to flight school, ended up flying for the Navy.
Wow.
And yeah, that was that stage.
Well, you know what? It's cool. See, to those of you out there listening, you actually... We not needed, but it was like, it didn't seem right. Nicole and I were in 2 different places. We had 2 places we're paying for.
Yeah.
And we thought we need a roommate.
Yeah.
Right. But I didn't want a roommate. I was happy. I got this. I got the house and the cat, and I don't want anyone in here, and she's like, no, let's do it. We're just throwing away money. Someone can use it. And Ben calls and says, hey, I got somebody who could use a room. Do you need a roommate? And I was like, well, you come walking in the door and your energy was just so welcoming that at the top of this, that's when I had mentioned that I was saying, get your stuff, move on in, you know? And, but it was you mentioned tribes because I loved having you around. I loved that like I'm Native American Indian, and as you mentioned, we all live in tribes, and that's how we're supposed to live and come together. Like here at Sticky Paw Studios, there's a community. There's there's a lot of energy and a lot of positive stuff coming out of this space. Yeah, and so that's the way it is at our house, and that's why I did the lighting in here to match our our.
Well, that was the thing when I moved out of LA, and I left in the end of December 2020, and I decided to go. I went to Mexico for 2 months. I traveled across my car back and forth across the country, spent some time with family in North Carolina, and I decided, okay, I knew LA wasn't the right place for me anymore at that time, and so when I decided to make Vegas a home, at least temporarily, that was my number one focus, was making sure that the energy of a place that felt like a sanctuary. Really, our homes should be a sanctuary, because we really need, in this experience of being alive, it's so many challenges, so much. They call it resistance in the hero's journey, and it's all the things that challenge us every day, that we have to come back to our center, and then we go back out there, and you can see that in any kind of a story that you watch, where the hero is going out there and he's learning and he's trying, he's going through trials, he's failing, he's succeeding, but we need a place. And internally, that's the first place we find. Like I through my story of life's ups and downs, I finally came to this place where, this was just in July of last year, to be frank, where I really, really got deeply rooted in this idea, like my home, I need to make my home inside my heart, inside this physical space I'm in, my number one priority. This idea of like loving ourselves so much that we like as if we were holding a child, and we have to do that individually so that we really provide this foundation like you would for a child to really grow. So if we don't give ourselves that home within, and that which then starts manifesting externally, like which is what happened when I met you right away. And when I really made the commitments, when we make this commitment and we don't try to, like I have this thing that used to pop up on my phone every day. Actually, it was the background. It says, stay focused on a clear goal, but let the universe work out the details. Right. And this clear goal is like, find a home within. Like what am I doing that is not loving myself? And when I really made this transition, I didn't know what to do, But I had gone through enough circles of, oh, there's this pattern again, there's this habit again that was unloving. I decided I don't know what to do, but I know what not to do. And that's these things that are unloving to myself.
But how did we get to this space? Yeah. Because earlier on, we were sitting here talking about you just became a Navy pilot.
Yeah.
And so what if I remember is you were flying the football. Yeah. That's the nuclear codes around. And as my roommate, when you would open the door, I would see your helmet.
Yeah.
And I only saw that in Top Gun and in movies and on
TV.
That
helmet was for the smaller planes when I was a flight instructor, and these.
Well, still, it was super cool to me. I didn't know that.
It was cool, but except when you put it on your head and it's sweaty and hot, and you breathe through,
you're Darth Vader. Yeah. But no, I'm saying. So you went to. How did we get from being a Navy pilot to a point where, because you were flying commercial for a long time after the Navy, and.
Well, here's something that happens in the hero's journey. We go through this cycle, and then we reach a point where the special world at some point becomes the ordinary world.
Right.
And we reinvent.
Yeah.
And so as I went through this military experience as a military pilot, my next reinvention was becoming an airline pilot.
Okay.
And in this process of being an airline pilot, now there's another call to adventure, and then you go do this thing, and you learn your ups and downs, and you go through your trials, and you come out with knowledge, and then you all of a sudden it starts getting
normal
again.
Exactly. Yeah. It's normal.
So that's when I was I got into acting to impress a girl. So I was never, when I was in the military, actually.
I think I got into music to get girls.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was in my early 20s. So,
Yeah. So but while I was an airline pilot, and I did that for 15 years, I started getting into acting to impress this girl. And then I started having fun with it, but it was another one of those shifts where you're changing the adventure becomes different again once the ordinary. So like the flying became kind of ordinary in the airlines, and then
But you were living in a penthouse on the beach.
Yeah,
you were, dude. That was ordinary.
It was a nice view. Yeah.
I was driving a Tesla. Come on.
Well, I never got married yet. Anyway, I've been engaged a couple of times, and
me too.
I've been
once.
Yeah. So I had the luxury, I suppose, of not having. It was just me, I had to worry about, and it's one of those things. A lot of times in life, we don't recognize these self-defeating patterns, these self-sabotaging things, and one of the things that I would do in my life is through this feeling of not feeling like I deserved abundance and not necessarily wealth, but just this freedom. I would do things unconsciously to keep myself in a position where I was poor. So I would live checked. Well, at a certain point, I was making so much money that the only way I could do that was renting a penthouse, but it was.
And now not anymore, because now we'll get to where you are. Yeah. This is home to you now, but we're not roommates anymore. But it's home. But go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, and that's one of the things that the hero, we're all the heroes of our own story, right? Has to, in this process of going through life, you start to introspect because certain things keep popping up, and you think they're outside of you,
right?
But really, what they are is they're subconscious, and a lot of the hero's journey is about the subconscious. If you look at the diagram from Joseph Campbell, there's a very small part of the circle that's called the ordinary, and below that there's a line, threshold, and below that's called the special, and that special represents your subconscious. And the subconscious is everything that we adopted as a child, generally speaking. Some of the stuff we can do upon ourselves, or circumstantially in our. Sometimes you're in a world, and the world, like in Ukraine, crazy stuff happens. Sometimes externally, that's not internally induced. But a lot of times, it's our childhood that has those special patterns of behavior that are meant to help us survive, and they do, right? Because in childhood, we're vulnerable. We're this infant. We can't feed ourselves. We can't shelter ourselves. So we have to accommodate the world that we're in, which is generally our parents. And those coping mechanisms, what we really want to do and what we have to do, become patterns that are in our subconscious. So a lot of our hero's journey as we move through life is recognizing these patterns that keep coming up and reflecting, is that outside of me or is that inside of me? And I remember there's a point in time when it was back in December 2015, I was dating this girl. This is the one I should have married, and she was...
Right.
All the boxes were checked and everything, and we ended up not being able to figure things out. And I was like, if I can't make it work with her, the problem's got to be me.
Right.
And that's when I started really getting deep into what's, really, really looking at my subconscious and my through our patterns,
Right.
So.
Well, this, you've come a long way. We sit and talk talk about all this stuff, and you impress me all the time. I'm always learning something. I get up to make oatmeal, and I get caught, and we sit and talk.
That's why I keep trying to move
2
out of
hours.
Vegas, and I can't leave Vegas because I don't want to. I don't want to keep having these conversations.
Now
you have podcasts,
so
I can move.
Exactly. No, it's so. You said you were an actor. You got into acting, and how did that?
That was fun. I mean, it was fun for a while, but a similar kind of thing. It wasn't my deepest passion. But
it wasn't mine. I was an actor too.
Yeah.
But
what I discovered in acting was I discovered storytelling, and I discovered how to tell stories, and I didn't even know I was doing this. So 2015-16, virtual reality first came on to the big screen because this guy, I think his name's Lucky Palmer down in Long Beach, California, he threw a bunch of military surplus equipment, created a virtual reality headset that he's put on Kickstarter. He tried to raise $200,000. He raised $2 million, I believe.
Whoa!
And people are like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
I'm gonna start a Kickstarter for my band.
There you go. Start with 200. See if you can.
Yeah.
He raises $200,000. $2 million, and then the numbers have to check exactly. But basically, a few months later, Facebook buys his company for $2 billion.
Whoa!
Now they wouldn't do that unless Facebook's now Meta, but they wouldn't have done that unless there was something there. So that really popped my eyes open. And virtual reality is the only thing that I've ever had the same kind of. I recognized it because it's the only thing, other than playing beach volleyball. But I love it. I guess there's three things.
That's something I didn't know.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
That was something in. Yeah, but anyway, and I discovered that. That's one of the reasons I was living in the penthouse on the beach in Santa Monica because I could walk right out.
Because of the girls.
Actually, Santa Monica's a cold beach. You don't see it. It's Miami or something like that. But so when I discovered virtual reality, something lit up inside of me, and I still don't know what that thing is, but I was able to recognize it because I remembered it from a little kid watching. The first time I ever saw a plane, I was at an air show, and I was with my dad, and this F-4 Phantom did a low altitude, high speed flyby, and it went by super fast. In like a split second, there was silence, and all of a sudden the sound is
right.
And I'm 7 or 8 years old, and I was like, I'm gonna go do that. That's what I just knew it, and that's what I'm gonna go do. And that kind of segued into like the astronaut thing and flying, but it was rooted in that. And so the virtual reality thing in 2015-16, when this happened, grabbed me the same way. And I bought this, the first VR camera I bought was literally just one lens. It was called a 360 Fly. And I
could use that here. No, I'm kidding.
You could.
Go ahead.
And so there's this short film that somebody wanted me to do, and I didn't want to do it, but I said, hey, if you let me film some of this in virtual reality, then I'll come down and do it, and we'll just kind of swap it out like that. And so from that point, I started getting excited about storytelling in VR because as opposed to like directing and producing, and not as an actor, but as a creator, as a director, producer, you don't need as many people, there's not as many moving parts, and the story experience happens such that the audience is in the story. And I knew how to be in a story because, as you know, as an actor, you're the one that's in the story.
Yeah, you're sitting here in front of the cameras like we are right now. Yeah.
And so you know what the point of view is, as opposed to being outside the story and you're just watching it. And so I had this kind of feel. I knew that being an actor was basically training. It's like going to Yoda and Dagobah, like getting the Luke training. It was training for how to create story inside of a story for the audience, because that was the thing I was always missing. I always wanted to take people flying and show them what it was like to fly. But what I found out, they would be like white knuckling the controls and like my mother and my friends.
Right.
And I realized I can't give them what I feel because they'd have to be the pilot. You
could be doing a podcast from inside.
Oh, that's my plan.
Really?
Yeah, because the one of the two jets that I fly now, because I'm just for money, and because I want to get back into flying, I started flying privately.
Private, exactly.
So I fly a couple private jets, and one of them is a single piloted jet.
You just throw that out there. So like I fly a couple private jets. It's no big deal.
Well, anything. I mean, it's a deal, but like you put your energy into anything, and you can do it. If your heart is passionately connected to it, that's why it feels kind of like, not to throw it away, but like what you do with the songs is so I can't even begin. Or in a guitar player, or people that are putting together a bunch of technological stuff.
I get it. Yeah.
It's that passion. But I appreciate what
But I watched you like when you took on this, you know, flying private, you had to learn
it was stressful. It was
stuff,
intense.
and you're doing it again.
And I had taken 4 years off because I stopped flying.
Right.
Just to focus on virtual reality film production. And then...
Which is amazing.
I basically ran out of money is what happened. Like, my savings...
Yeah, but see, the thing is, you had a call to adventure.
Yeah.
And you stepped through it, and you went for it, and you went all in.
Well, there's a lot of circumstances that helped accelerate that. Some of them enjoyable, some of them terrifying. But ultimately, I feel, again, when our heart connects to a conviction, like because I knew at a certain point in time in 2017, I came back from this trip I was on, and I was like, you know what? I have to stop flying professionally as an airline pilot. I need to I need to take this chance. I need to go right into virtual reality film production.
Wow.
But I was going to do it in a safe way in life. You know, but I knew I was like, that's what's going to happen. So as soon as we make that internal conviction that I'm going to do this, something happens cosmically where stuff starts aligning and accelerating.
Exactly. For me, it's, I cannot be comfortable. Like if I am in a space where I get comfortable with money's coming in here.
Yeah.
These things, I have to feel like I'm falling in a way. Like if I take one step this way or one step that way, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And that allows me to dive in all the time.
Yeah.
And put everything into what I'm doing.
And Bryan, that's called being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Exactly. And I know
desiring.
that though.
It's something like adrenaline junkies kind of get that, but that's the call to adventure, and realizing that the only way I'm going to actually enjoy this call to adventure, this called life, is to get comfortable. Eckhart Tolle was one of my big teachers, spiritual teachers, and just his books. He wrote a bunch of stuff, Power of Now and A New Earth, and he's just really transformational for me to really kind of get a conscious awareness of what's really going inside of ourselves. We have this mind, body, emotional, mental experience that we're having, and then we have the witness of this. Like when you're in your dreams and you're all in the dream, and then you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I had this dream. There was a part of you that's watching the dream. Right. Nothing was really going on. So once we wake up to that's actually happening, I can have my thoughts and I can watch my thoughts. I can have emotions and I can watch my emotions. I can have a body and I can be aware of my body. This awareness is this silent aspect of all of us that we don't know about consciously until we start to learn about it. And engaging that witnessing presence is a part that allows us to move into the uncomfortable.
Right. And that's the place that I thrive in.
Everybody.
I thrive in that space. It's, when I started music, I put myself in a position. I remember saying no a couple of times, no joke, I said it. I know what you're going to say. You're going to go back. That's what happens.
And we all refuse
it. Exactly.
We all refuse a call to adventure.
Right. But I grew up around music and it came at me.
Yeah.
And then literally the guy grabs my arm and says, hey, are you a singer? And I was waiting tables at this place in Studio City, California, called Jerry's Famous Deli. And it's like midnight. And the guy grabs me and his name was Alan Savory. Great artist, songwriter. If you look him up, this guy's amazing. Anyway, he said, are you a singer? And I said, no. And that's funny. You've been singing all night as you passed me.
Yeah.
So, next thing you know, he's like, hey, we should get together and write or, what. And I'm, no. And then
refused the call.
Eventually I did. And I stepped in and I did this with him.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I'm in the studio and I'm sharing a studio with the Eazy-E and all those guys, and Charo is next door recording, and I'm getting to record with a guy named Mars Lazar, and he produced like Seal, and he worked with Trevor Horn on the Seal record, and so I was thrown into this world, right? And I heard them say on the microphone behind the glass, they said, he's just going to be a recording artist. Right? He's not going to perform. And I knew, no, that's where I want to be. I want to be on stage. There was a couple stories I'll get into later in other podcasts, why it was so important to me to do that.
Yeah.
But I worked really hard and I gave up so much just to have that moment. And it's the thing I love the most and I thrive at the most. Put me in front of thousands of people and let me play my music. And let me share my stories.
That's you sharing your light, man.
I appreciate that.
It is.
But that's the thing. But it's that uncomfortable space that we had to be in. So for you to dive all into the VR world, I've never met anybody so passionate about something that I don't know anything about, but I've been trying to learn as a friend.
Yeah.
And you're more family to me than a friend.
Yeah.
But to have that and learn and know that at some point I'm like, yeah, that is the future. I believe you. I believe that is the future. And
it wasn't an easy experience, quite frankly. I kind of got pulled into it, even though I had this intention. But the important thing to remember, and I want to bring it up because even though we all have this tendency to refuse the call, it's to stay safe, right? Even though our heart is saying something else. The thing about it is that it's okay that we refuse a call, not as an excuse, because the call always comes back. So no matter where we are in lives, no matter how old we are or what point in the career we might be, there's always, until you're dead, until your body stops beating, and that's just your body that's not moving.
Right.
Once the electricity leaves your body, but I can put the electricity back in your body with just jump you up, and all of a sudden you're back. So this is more like a phone than it is the real electricity. We are the electricity. But the important thing is to realize that until you're dead and you're no longer coming back into this form, you always have the opportunity to answer the call.
Right.
And your call will change in time. Even if you answer the call and you meet this call and you learn these things, your call is going to change again. And if you refuse it, you can always answer the call. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you are in your life, what your financial situation is.
Agreed. And I write songs about it. I believe that. I believe that. I live that.
Yes.
If that was a religion, that's my life. So it's crazy that.
But how do you do that, Brian? And I'm asking the question knowing that in this intro song, there's a part of that, or in the song that plays, I forget the name of the song, but there's a part that says, "Embrace the madness" or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's in the darkness. There's a quote from Joseph Campbell that says, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek."
And that's in this song. That song in particular was me giving advice to a friend.
Yeah.
And somebody close to me, and she had hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
Right? So at rock bottom, I am talking to her on the phone and driving in my car.
Yeah.
And I look up in the rearview mirror and I'm talking to myself too. And it was like,
exactly.
I'm
You're
like
hearing the words you're saying.
Hearing. And so I got to the show, we did the show. And then when it was over, I grabbed Ben and I'm like, hey, I had written something, and I actually wrote it to a melody to music that he's always given me stuff, and I wrote that, and because that's what it is. I kept saying to her, it only feels like you had me to call, and there's other people that you have around you.
Yeah,
it's only up from here.
Yeah,
but you have to believe that little bit of light, that view that you have to look at it like it's positive.
Yeah.
Not a negative thing. And I said that to her, and that's where that came from. And it's embrace the love and the madness. Embrace that. And so,
and that's the discomfort. You're learning to embrace the discomfort.
Yeah,
because that's where otherwise it's ordinary and safe. The discomfort can be so freaking dark, so heavy. That I have a cousin of mine. Cousin of mine. And he took his life 3 months ago, 4 months ago. And it was a really challenging experience for the whole family. But
I didn't know that.
And he was struggling with a lot of things for a lot of his life. And unfortunately, that's the place where we stop believing, Mm-hmm. And even though it feels, and I've been in that place where I haven't wanted to been here before.
My own mom mentioned to me today, which was wild, that she's felt that. She has felt how dark, because we have a friend, somebody very close to me who I love very much, actually attempted that and failed, which she's not supposed to go.
Yeah.
So, but my mom said, I can relate. And there was a lot of people that can.
Yeah.
And I understand, but it was crazy to hear my mom say it to me today.
Well, the important thing in my experience going through stuff.
But who's so positive? My mom is like very positive. I'm sorry, I'm putting that out there, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I just want to say that it's very difficult when sometimes we're in this dark, and I speak from a place of experience, to think that there's a way out. And it's in those places of darkness when we can't pick up that phone and call somebody and just say, like you were telling me the story about the guy, your friend that was on the radio, and they had somebody literally live call in and say, I'm not okay.
Yeah, I gotta share that. Like, like my buddy Jared Blake, just before getting here, calls me and he said, hey, I played 22, a song he wrote with Randy Couture on the radio.
Yeah.
And he said, Bryan, I had the wildest experience because I played the song and then somebody called in and said, hey, I don't know who this person is, but that song just spoke to me. And he said, I am in a really bad place. I have never left the war. Yeah. And he said, and I need help.
Yeah.
And that song, I said, Jared,
that's what you
do.
Dude,
that was supposed to happen. You just helped that one person that we're trying to grab.
And before that guy could say that on the phone,
he had to accept it.
He had to say it to himself.
Exactly.
He said, I'm not okay. And if we can say I'm not okay and vocalize that, even just to ourselves, you're starting to do that thing that I mentioned earlier of creating this loving space, because a child will do that. They'll come up and say, I'm mad, I'm upset. I'm like, they won't filter it, right? And then we pretend that we have to have everything under control and that it's not okay to not be okay.
Right.
And if we can accept that with ourselves, we start bringing that sanctuary, this inner home to ourselves, and we just have to keep breathing, and basically that song is like embracing the discomfort and not numbing yourself or checking out is the opportunity to continue the adventure.
Exactly, because it's always going to be like that. You have to step through it and believe. Otherwise, you're sitting back and you're on that line above the special world, that special place. You know what I'm saying? That's what the space is. It's wild because you actually today, we tried not to talk in the last couple of days because I knew you're going to be here. And I'm like, I wanted all this to be, very in the moment. But you woke up having a dream. Yeah. And what people don't know about me, I grew up, like I said, we're all unique. Yeah. Right. And I have you as you watch, you're gonna be watching me on here, listening to me. But I don't really like to wear t-shirts. I love wearing jackets. I love covering up. I've always been body conscious. I spend a lot of time in the gym, but I just need to eat better. And I'm working on that right now, so you're going to watch me change. But I was born different in that I was born without a left pec and part of my left bicep. Yeah. And that was something that, it was a deformity. It's called Poland syndrome. And I didn't know it. It didn't really have a name. I was like one of 7 or 8 people that my doctor he only read about it. Mm-hmm. And he said, do you have webbed fingers or webbed toes? And I was like, I don't. And I'm like, well, what is webbed fingers and toes? Yeah. And I didn't. But it's something, you'll see me pulling at my shirt and you see it. It's me because my clothes fit me different. Yeah. You'll never catch me with my shirt off. I'll be in the best shape of my life and I don't have my shirt off. Yeah. But it was wild because you had a dream today.
Yeah. And I know you well enough now. Like that first time we met, I felt what I always say to you, and it's one of the reasons I think you resonate so much with your fans when you're, especially when you're live. Like you said that that's your place.
That's my place.
That's your place because I've said this many, many times. You're one of the few people I know who's just wildly open with their heart. You just wear it outside of yourself, and you see people as this reflection of yourself, and you look in their eyes and you notice that spark, and whether you're conscious of it or not, I recognize that you're seeing the other person as yourself. And so it was actually finishing a dream, but before I was fully awake, in this in-between space where I have no idea where it came from, but I had this thought that Bryan doesn't have a pec because he doesn't need it to protect his heart, because his heart's so big. He can't hide it because it's meant to be. So it's symbolic, I feel, of just your persona and the energy that you have a whole group of people. I've seen it. You showed me videos where there'll be people who've never heard your band before, haven't heard your song, and you're opening for Three Doors Down or something like that. And next thing you know, they're singing your songs from their heart because you're telling them the story and you're explaining why you wrote this song, and then you're singing the song,
right.
and they're feeling it because they're feeling your heart.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
I appreciate that.
And back to the inspiration, the thing that we do as individuals when we do that is not by shining our own light. There's a quote, I think it's Marianne Williamson or somebody, that says, by shining our light, not only is that our responsibility, but by doing so, we give other people permission to do the same. Some people will poo-poo you and try to talk you down, but really what they want to do is they want to shine their light. And what you're really doing is you're inspiring other people to answer the call to adventure. That's what you do.
Thank you. But that's this space. That's a conversation I had with Jared today. We tend to talk to each other, call each other on long drives or whatever, and if you don't know who Jared Blake is, go check him out. He is from season 1 of The Voice. He was on Blake Shelton's team, and he's an incredible songwriter, incredible performer. And I see myself in him. I use those words today.
Yeah.
I said, you call me because you see me in you. And I said, and I see myself in you as well. And I wouldn't know how to articulate that really until I met you. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm 6'3". I'm a big guy. And growing up, I have a brother, Cody, Angel, Buffy, or my sisters. My mom and dad are Rocky and Terry. So growing up, we still are a tight family.
Yeah.
And, but I'm a big guy. I'm bigger than all of them. And I just wanted to send out positive vibes, as you say, vibrations. We're sending out vibrations,
always
right?
Our energy, man.
Exactly. So music is just an extension of that for me. I sit down and write how I'm feeling. It's my vocal diary, I call it, and it's basically I'm standing there naked in front of everybody to judge when I'm standing there in front of 10 people, 8,000 people, whatever it is. That's what I'm doing. And this is a new call to adventure for myself as well. And this is fun for me. This is actually sparked something in me that has fired off neurons everywhere with me. And I wish I spoke like you. You are just the way you spit out information and internalize it and take and use it in your life. I watch you do it. I watch you try and practice these things.
I just use a different language. You did the same thing, but in a different language. And when you get up on stage and you sing from your heart, and you literally are showing people how to communicate in that way, and you're saying, hey, they don't recognize. Most of the time, we don't. When we're in love with somebody or a star or a performance or anything like that, or the words that we hear, like you were saying, when you were talking, you were listening. You're like, oh, I need to hear the words I'm saying. What we're seeing is the reflection of ourselves and the other person being their most authentic self, and that's what we fall in love with. We fall in love with the authentic self, but the authentic self requires enough bravery, which is not free from fear. It's being full of fear. Bravery, and stepping forward anyway. And when you step forward in fear, in discomfort, you cross that threshold from the ordinary to the special word. You begin the journey. And every single person communicates that in their own unique way when they're doing that in whatever way they're doing it.
And with my mom hugs everybody.
Yeah.
My mom she hugs everyone.
She's saying it's safe to love.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember singing. I was doing a song, and I hadn't seen anybody. I hadn't seen my friend in a very, very long time, since high school. And I'm at a show, and he's in the audience. And I dedicated the song to him. He and his wife, and he had just mentioned to me pre-show that he learned how to love by being around the Hopkins family, hugging, saying I love you, because that wasn't something that went on in his household.
But in that family, somebody said it's safe to do this, to be vulnerable.
Exactly. So in my family, he's like, it was all about hugging. So when he had his daughter, he was like, oh, I'm going to hug my daughter. I'm going to say I love you. The Hopkins family taught me that, right? But my mom doesn't know I'm getting ready to say this. And she just walks up behind my friend Jaime and gives him a hug, and he just started crying. And I'm like, whoa, like my mom didn't know. And, you know, there's hundreds of people out there, and she just walks over to him and does this. So
that's another example of somebody doing something that is giving another person, this friend of yours, permission to do the same, to hug.
Exactly. So, and it moved forward. You know, he used that in his life. Speaking of my mom, because we're coming up on the end of this.
Yeah.
And it's been so much fun, dude. You don't even know.
That's great.
But this little segment of this show, I'm going to actually call my mom.
Okay.
And so she should be hopefully sitting by the phone. And let's see if mom's there. My mom's name is Terry. And actually, her real name is Helen.
Okay.
But she doesn't like that name.
Okay.
So
Terry,
if you want to be on her bad side, you can call her Helen.
Okay. No.
But
I'll take the Luke, not the Darth
so you
Vader.
haven't met my mom yet.
No.
Let's see if mom will answer. Come on, mom. Where you at? Chase, how we doing? Chase, we good, buddy? Okay.
It sounds great.
You know, I'm just want to make sure. Come on, mom. Answer the phone. Watch her be in the bathroom or something.
You have to see if there's.
Did she forget?
Calls you back.
Yeah. We'll try one more time.
Luckily, mom's going to be around, so.
Yes, this is true.
Every podcast.
Yeah, but this is a new segment, you know. Come on, mama. And this is her moment, and she won't answer. And I told her, be ready, be by the phone. Do you have a picture of mom just in case she answers? We can throw it up, show everybody. She's gonna want a young one. Did it come through? Did it not come through? They didn't come through. That's okay. We'll do it the next one. Well, I guess mom is not going to answer. Mom, you there?
Mom's going to pick a different show.
Please leave your message.
No. Mom's going to be on a different show.
All right.
So, dude, I want to say thank you so much. And actually, what do you think of my new logo?
I love your new logo. Yeah.
We did.
It matches the hat and everything. It looks like you.
Rob Bourbon.
Yeah.
That's not his real last name. He told me.
Yeah.
He's Czechoslovakian.
Yeah.
He lives in Germany, and social media is amazing because we became friends. I saw this guy drawing rock stars like popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
And I started following him, and I was just a fan. And then I would send certain ones to my buddies, like, "Hey, dude, you guys see this? He just drew you," and it's the coolest stuff. But we became friends. And we send messages, like voice messages.
Yeah.
You know, like when I see him do something cool or playing guitar. Or now he's a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
So I want to get a tattoo done by him. Like I want his art on me.
Yeah.
That's something I want to do. But a shout out to Rob Bourbon. Everybody go follow him on Instagram and whatnot.
That's one of the amazing things about this time in history because, I've made friends on Instagram or through digital media where you really get to see people put themselves out there. It's part of their hero's journey too, where they're taking that call to adventure and putting themselves out there. It's another way where and it's not comfortable because you're vulnerable and you're exposed. And people are
totally exposed. But you know what, too? Could you throw that up there? I think it's Rob_Bourbon, BOURBON, at. And that's something I want to put up there on every episode because that's awesome. We got to put it on a T-shirt or something. I couldn't wear it, but maybe my mom will.
Yeah.
And she's going to be so upset that she didn't get to talk to you right now.
Well, we can do it again.
All right. So you know what? I want to thank you.
Brother.
Dude, did you have fun?
I had a great time.
Yeah, this is amazing. And, you got to do it again. We'll have you on here and we'll have someone else. But I wanted to just have a little more education out there as to why. I mean, when you saw what I was doing, the Hero's Journey podcast was not based on any book. It's just kind of it's just this thing because, like I said, every person. I had to explain that to my mom. I'm like, no, you are on your own journey, and there she is.
There she is.
There's Mama. Hold on, Mama. What were you in the bathroom?
No, I was vacuuming the floor.
Oh my gosh! So you're here was your call. I told you to be prepared, and
I did. I had my phone in my back pocket. It just doesn't vibrate, so I don't know.
is that what you call Dad? Not vibrating? No.
Yes.
I got Boon here, Mom. He's my guest today, and
Hey there.
can you hear him?
Barely.
Hey, how's it going, Terry?
Oh, hi. Nice to hear your voice.
Nice to hear yours too. I'm glad that we beat out the vacuum cleaner. How are you doing?
A woman's work is never done. That is the oldest saying. That shows how old I am.
Yeah, well, until you're dead, you're going to be a woman. So and we're glad that you're here.
Yes, I heard that you know how to clean pretty good, though. Your mama raised you right.
Oh, he does. He made me feel bad. He moved into the house, and I left something in the sink and thought, oh geez, sorry man, I didn't mean to leave that in the sink, and because he just keeps everything so clean. He's a great guy. But hey Mom, I just wanted to let you know that we talked about you a little bit more on today's podcast, and you got to go.
Did you lie, Brian? You should always lie. Never tell the truth.
I know. I did. I
sound better in a lie.
I did tell everybody your real name, though.
Oh, you didn't?
I did.
Nobody uses it, so it doesn't matter. And anybody that does, I automatically throat punch. So
I'm going to cover my throat up around your mom.
it's just a reaction. Don't mean to.
Oh, that's all right. All right, Mama, I love you. Give Dad my love, and we'll talk to you, okay?
Yes, I just want to tell you it's sunny and beautiful here at the beach.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, living the life.
All right, well, I miss you here in Vegas. I love you.
Yes, I miss Vegas and you, baby boy.
All right, bye, Mama.
Okay, bye, baby.
So anyway, there you go. You just met my mom.
Man.
So I want to say thank you so much, everybody, for listening, tuning in. Please tell your friends, Hero's Journey Podcast. My name is Bryan Hopkins, and I'm hoping that today, Boon and myself maybe could have helped you step across that line.
Yeah. Recognize you were born, you're in the hero's journey.
Exactly.
So embrace it, recognize where you are on that cycle, and start accepting those challenges, and not as something to avoid, but something to lean into, the discomfort.
I like that. Lean in.
Lean in.
Lean into that call to adventure, everybody.
That's right.
This is Bryan Hopkins. This is a Hero's Journey podcast. Thank you.
Dream, and I believe it's coming around to me.